Greetings. How are you, sir?
Good. I'm pretty good. Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. My pleasure. So before we go any further, should I refer to you as Mr. Wes Hall, Mr. Hall, or
You can
Wes?
call me what my grandmother called me, man, Wes. And,
Wes. All right, Wes.
but when
All
I'm in
right,
trouble, she
Wes.
says, Wesley.
I received that. I received that. Well, look, first of all, thanks for taking the time out of your positive, productive schedule.
Pleasure, brother.
And just want to take a little bit of your time. We've got probably about 25 minutes of your time, so want to make it as positive, productive as possible. So for those who don't know, this is, I'll say it, Wes Hall. Other than that, we'll call him Wes. And he is the founder and chairman of Kingsdale Advisors and one of the stars of the CBC hit show, Dragon's Den. And he, following global protests over the murder of George Floyd in 2020, he founded the Black North Initiative with the mission to end anti-Black systemic racism by utilizing a business-first mindset. We're going to take some time to talk a little bit about his book, take some time to find out a little bit about him in Dragon's Den, and we're going to end it off about his scholarship for Black and Indigenous youth at Telfer School of Management. Does that work well with you, Wes?
Love that.
All right, so let's rock and roll.
Yeah.
The book. No bootstraps when you're barefoot. How did that come about?
First of all, when I was growing up in that tin shack in rural Jamaica, I never wore shoes except to go to church or to go to a funeral. And but we didn't wear shoes to go to school or anything like that. But also, as I get into business and I hit struggles along the way, you hear people use the expression, just pull yourself up by the bootstraps. But what happens when you have no boots? How do you do that? And also, when I became an entrepreneur, you know, you hear a lot of entrepreneurs brag that they bootstrapped their own businesses, meaning that they came up with funding, whether it be from third party or their own money, to fund their business. But again, if you have nothing, how do you bootstrap your business? How do you get started? Especially when people refuse to give you capital. So there's a lot of meaning to that you know, the title. But the meaning is really ultimately, how do you overcome hardship when you don't have the tools to get yourself out of whatever basement that you find yourself in life.
Nice. I just want to spend a little bit of time you growing up. What did you want to be when you were a kid?
A police officer. You know, totally. You know, so when I was a kid in Jamaica, you see these police officers with their nicely pressed uniform, and it's just crisp. And they look perfect, and they have authority. People respected, and you know, as growing up, they respected the police. And I just go, I want to be somebody who people respect. And so that was close to me when I was growing up. It's always the police. You know, people respected them. People say hello, and they kind of enforced the law, but they did it in a nice way. You know, so I wanted to be one of those guys, you know, and people used to tell me that I looked like a policeman growing up. Why? I don't know. It's like, I don't know how police people look, but apparently I look like one. And when I came here to Canada, you know, to appease my dad, I actually decided to try out for the police force. And you know, I didn't continue that along the journey. I took a different path, and that path led me to where I'm at today.
Fantastic. So just saying a little bit with what you shared, when did you realize policing wasn't going to be your journey?
You know, I actually became, that's when I took my faith seriously. I became a Jehovah's Witness. And, you know, one of the you know, the principles of the faith is you shouldn't put yourself in a position where you could cause harm to another human being, no matter how unintended it is. And because of the fact that I would be out there enforcing the law and I have a gun on me, it would, I could put myself in a position where I could inflict harm on somebody else and even take a life, which is something that the Bible kind of fundamentally teach against. So as a result of that, I decided I had two choices: either go down that path or go down the path of my faith, and I chose the faith.
Excellent. How important is your faith when it comes to your business practices?
It means everything. You know, I remember when I just started my firm, and we had a pretty hard time, and a client paid an invoice twice, and they had no idea. And I remember my finance guy came to me and said, "What do you want to do here?" And I said, "What do you mean? What do you want to do? It's the obvious: return the money and apologize. Tell them what happened." And so there's no circumstances where I feel that I can cut corners. I always, and the other thing as well, when I hire people, I actually look for people who have some form of faith. It doesn't have to be my own. It has to be some form of faith, because they have a higher reason to be moral or to behave in a proper way. It's not just them saying, "I'm not going to do this." They have a higher call in telling them that this behavior is wrong. And so I tend to draw close to people who have some belief in something other than just themselves.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. When did it hit you that business would be your journey?
Yeah, I fell in it. I fell in it. I literally did. I was working for a company, and I thought I was killing it. I thought I was doing really well for the company, and I was making a lot of money. I was responsible for 80% of the company's revenue, and it was a decent company, but they didn't really feel the same way as I did. They thought it was just, their name, their reputation. They didn't think it was my hard work. And as a black man, killing it, I remember the two of the senior finance guys were having a conversation, and the most senior guy in the finance group says, in spite of the fact that Wes is black, he's doing well for the company. So in spite of my handicap, in spite of my disability, in spite of all the obstacles put in front of him, he's doing well. So that kind of held me back a little bit, and for a while, and I became unhappy. And I always say to young people that if you're in a place that you're not appreciated, then you're in the wrong place. And you can't be upset at the people who don't appreciate you. You got to be upset at yourself. And so I was doing well. I felt I was doing well. But I knew that if I'd left that company and go to another company, I might be treated the same way. So I said the only way to put myself in a position where I can go as far as my ability would take me is if I set up my own company and get into business on my own. And I set out to do that. And now my success or failure really depends on myself and my work, and not somebody else's.
Thanks. I want you to look back on those first few years of forming your own company. Two-part question. How were those first few years? And especially during those first few years, did you experience any racism?
Listen, when I started the firm, I was 34 years old, and I was starting a firm on Bay Street. And keep in mind that the whole premise behind what I was doing, you probably don't know this, but it was about going into boards in corporate Canada and advise them on how to deal with activist investors. What happens is if you're an investor in a public company and somebody wants to, and you don't like the board or the management team, you can actually get rid of the board and management team and put your own people in place. And my job was to advise boards on defending against that, or to advise activists to do that. And I was also involved, part of my, what the business set up was to advise companies involved in hostile takeovers. When a company, if you are a public company, somebody want to buy your company, you said, no, I don't want to buy it, I don't want to sell it. That company launches a bid to your shareholders instead and go around you. That's a hostile takeover. So I was a 34-year-old black guy who said, I'm going to set up that business that advise on activism and advise on hostile takeover bid. And I'm going to walk into the boardrooms and I'm going to pitch them as to why they should hire me. At the time, the boardrooms were middle-aged white men, middle-aged older white men. There was no women in the boardrooms. It was all just a homogeneous group of people that was in the boardroom at the time. And here I am, this black dude, 34 years old, is going to walk in to say, I'm going to advise you on this stuff. And by the way, at the time, activism didn't exist in Canada. It wasn't here. I thought it was going to come, but it wasn't here yet. And so when I walk in a number of times and pitch people, they're like, you're black, right? Like, yeah, I do. I'm also smart, so, and people actually joke on that. And I turn those things around into a joke, right? You could be offended when people, say stuff like that. Or you can just turn it around and just laugh it off and go about your business and do what you do. And so that's what I've done. So then I got successful, and people start recommending me on files. And I would walk into the boardroom and you'd just see the faces like nobody expected. There was a black dude who would walk in the door. And I had a lot of fun with that, and then I started to dress a little bit different. Meaning that instead of the pinstripe blue suit, I would walk in with colors like these. And so if I'm going to be different, just be different all the way. And then clients actually start to embrace that. And then they expect me to walk in the room looking different. And so a lot of us, sometimes we code switch or we're going to fit in. And I think, initially I get it, but ultimately when you get to a certain point in your career, just be yourself, man. People embrace that and you embrace it and you become better as a result of being yourself.
Let's move on as we go quickly. Time, like the hourglass, is running fast. How did the Dragons Den opportunity come about?
First of all, I got a text, a DM on Twitter from somebody who said, "Hey, you interested in being a dragon?" And I'm like, it's like, whatever. I didn't respond to it. Literally didn't respond to it. And then a few months later, I got an email from the producers that said, "Listen, we're looking for a dragon. One of them is retiring, and we're looking for a dragon, and we think that you would do a good job." And I go, "Interesting. I've never been on TV before, and not in that context anyway. I've been on BNN talking about markets and all that kind of stuff, but never like that, doing a show." And they said, "We think you would do a good job at it. We want you to audition." And this was during the pandemic, so this was 2021. And they said, "Okay." I said, "What's involved?" They said, "There's going to be 12 people that we're going to audition for it. And you're going to be on a panel of 3 dragons with people pitching you. And each of them we're going to do the audition over a few days. And if we like you, we'll call you and tell you we like you, and we'll offer you a position on the show." So I did my thing. And a couple of days later, they called me back and said, "Listen, we think you did a great job, and we want you to join the cast." And that's it.
Do you remember the moment you took that phone call? What did you do when you heard that news?
Well, it's interesting because there was whenever something like that happens, you're going to have 2 emotions. One is, "Wow, this is great," and one is, "Holy crap!" Right? It's like, okay, what if? All the what ifs and stuff like that start happening because hey, you've never been on television before. What if you fail? What if? And I always look at the what ifs and put those aside and go, but what if I'm successful, And so my what if category tend to be more on the positive side than the negative side.
Sure.
And look at the potential positive outcome as opposed to the potential negative outcome. And the potential positive outcome for me was they've never had a black person on their show as a dragon ever. I'll be the first, but not only to pat myself on the back that I'm the first, but it's going to create opportunities for so many more people and so many young people that are fans of the show that are black or a person of color. And they're going to go, "Hey, Wes did the show. I can do the show." But also those people pitching the show, they're now going to see somebody on the panel that can resonate and relate to them. And as a result of that, it may encourage them to pitch the show. And that's what we've seen over the last 2 seasons. And because the show now has become so successful, we're actually going to have a lot more. We're going to have actually 6 more episodes added. So now people are going to see my mug a lot more. Because again, the diversity show, the people pitching, the stories that we're telling is really resonating with Canadians.
You're a television or media person's dream, because you segued right into my next conversation point. What are you looking for when someone pitches you on that show?
I always say to entrepreneurs is this. When you're pitching 2 things. You're pitching your product or your services, and you're pitching yourself. Mm-hmm. Don't forget that you're pitching yourself, and that is the most important thing that you can do, because at the end of the day, if I'm an investor and I get, let's say, a minority stake in your company, 10%, I'm not going to be overseeing your management. I'm not going to oversee your ethics. I'm not going to oversee your best practices. I'm not there to see those things. So even though your business may be a good one, if you're unethical, if you're not going to be transparent, chances are my investment is probably going to not be, I'm not going to get what I invested in you for. But if I have a lot of faith in you and confidence in you as an entrepreneur, and I believe in you, especially when you hit tough times, I'm going to be there with you. But so if you sell yourself and you get people to believe in you, you're going to go a lot longer ways than if you just sell your product. And a lot of entrepreneurs just go in and say, I have the best product, I have the best service. Of course, people are going to invest in me. But if you're not a decent person and you don't come across as being a decent person, you're going to have a hard time attracting capital.
Excellent. I want to now get to our last part of our conversation, your collaboration with the Telfer School of Management and your scholarship. It's 2 full scholarships for Black and Indigenous students in finance. And these unique scholarships aim to remove the financial barriers to education by reducing the need for these students to seek employment throughout the school year. So they're also going to be getting mentorship to guide them through their academic success. Why did you decide to partner with the Telfer School of Management?
So when I was growing up, as I mentioned earlier, I was really poor. My grandmother raised us in a plantation shack, and she raised 10 grandkids in that plantation shack, and a special needs daughter that she had that was an adult daughter. And she did it on her own on a plantation worker's salary. You know, when I was growing up in Jamaica, I see, you know, Black business leaders, Black police officers, Black judges, Black doctors, Black everything. But there's one thing that prevented me from being one of those people. I was poor. So I wouldn't be able to educate myself, or my grandmother wouldn't be able to pay for my education. So my future was to work on the plantation just like my brothers were. And so when I came to Canada, that condition, the poverty condition, was cured, because I came on a Friday and I was in high school on Monday. It was a right that I had. And if I was smart enough after high school, I could get a scholarship because of the generosity of some philanthropists like myself that provide scholarships for me to continue my path of education, to get to that doctor, lawyer, judge, philanthropist, whatever you want to become in life. So education is the key out of poverty. And for me, I believe in supporting that. So whether it be at the universities, whatever educational institution there is, that if you're smart enough, that brain should not be wasted. That it shouldn't be wasted because you don't have the financial means to do it. So that's why I partnered with Telfer School and so many other institutions in Canada to, in addition to the University of West Indies, to really provide those, you know, opportunities for those great brains that, because of poverty, prevents them from actually moving ahead to show their full potential to society.
It goes back to an old commercial by the United Negro College Fund saying, a mind is a terrible thing to waste.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So part of the scholarship is mentorship. Who mentored you, or what number of people mentored you when you were attending Telfer?
Yeah, and that's a cool question. In that a part of the scholarship is that I'm going to provide mentorship to the recipients of the scholarship. So they're going to be talking to me on a regular basis to pick my brain about different things like that. So it's not just about, you know, saying, here's some money, we're going to give you the scholarship. How can I now become a part of the success of that student in the future? I didn't have a lot of mentors, quote unquote, growing up, but I did have a lot of allies. I met a lot of people along the way who believed in me, who saw something in me that I didn't see myself, and they gave me an opportunity to show them that, and I was able to show them, prove them right, and as a result of that, I'm where I'm at today. And but if I had the opportunity to meet with somebody like me in the position that I'm in, and just to pick their brain, even if it's once a quarter or every 6 months, you know, that could be extremely valuable to where I go and how I navigate the system. You know, when you think about mentorship and you think about the system that we're in, Bay Street, especially where I work, it's all about relationships and connections. Yeah. And there's that different language that people speak there, that if you don't understand that language, it's very difficult for you to navigate the system and be successful. So if, for example, one of those students that I'm mentoring wants to be in financial services, then I can help them on how to navigate, once they graduate, the financial services system and also to teach them the obstacles that they're going to experience and how to navigate through those obstacles while they're in that environment. Because if you don't know that, as soon as you get in and you hit the roadblock, you're probably just going to not stay, and you're never going to recover. But if somebody tells you what the roadblock is going to be and how to get around it, then you're going to, oh, I've seen this before. Oh, Wes, talk to me about that. And that's why mentorship is so important. So part of the Black North Initiative, we actually put together a group of mentors, hundreds of them, quite frankly, to help Black kids and Black business people who may be at a certain stage in their career get to that next level. And the mentors are not just Black people, by the way. Mentors come in all shapes, colors, and sizes, and sexual orientation and gender. And so we put them in touch with people who can help them to get to that next level.
Great. Do you have any mentors at this time of your journey?
Absolutely. You know, I don't have to necessarily meet them. You know, one of the, and they're all over the place. I look for people who are doing really amazing things. I don't look, it's not, to me, my mentor is not necessarily financial at this stage anyways in my life. My mentor is somebody who has a platform and is doing amazing things with it, and are changing the world with it. And I try to look at how do they do it? How do they start? You know, so you look at a guy like Robert Smith. I know he's a rich guy and stuff like that. He's doing some amazing things. You know, John Rogers at Ariel Asset Management in the US, doing some, you know, amazing things. A guy like Michael Lee Chen, you know, here, doing some amazing things. And yes, I know I mentioned those are rich people, but there are other folks that are just doing great things with the platform that they have, that I go, how can I emulate what they're doing without having to spend time at their feet, kind of listening to how they do it, but to kind of read their stories. And especially if they write books, you know, I encourage people, if you have a mentor, read their book or do some Google search on them to find out about them, speeches that they've given. And that could help you inform, you know, how you can navigate your way into being or emulating some of the things that that person is doing.
Excellent. What's next in your journey?
You know, I never thought that I would get this far in life. You know,
Come on.
No, when you're in a tin shack in rural Jamaica, and you're looking around and everybody's chopping sugarcane and picking up coconuts and packing bananas for export, and your relatives are doing that, and everybody in that neighborhood have done it for generations. How could you think that you're going to be doing anything other than that? So I got this far. I don't know how much farther I can go. So I'm just going to keep going until somebody or something stop me from going further, because I think I don't know what my true potential is yet. So I'm just keep on going until I discover more and more and more, because it seems like the more I push myself, the more I discover what I'm capable of doing. And my objective is just to keep doing that.
You mentioned, as we start winding it down here, you mentioned your grandmother. What qualities did she have that you carry on with you today?
Industriousness. You know, she had 10 grandkids, as I mentioned, and then she had an adult special needs daughter that she was looking after on a plantation worker's salary. You had to be industrious to feed that family on your own. So she would, you know, plant a garden. We call it a vineyard in Jamaica. Plant a garden.
I know it. Yeah.
Sell the stuff in the market. She would make puddings, sell it in the market, and then, you know, because of the fact that you know, we had no running water, we had no electricity. You know, to bake the pudding, you have to use a rim of a tire, and you put wood in it, and then you bake it. But you only can do so many of them. And she made the best pudding. When she goes to the market, it sells out like that. So what did my grandmother do? She's like, she figured out supply and demand. You know, there's a lot of demand for it. We don't have enough supply. So what do you do when that happens? You raise the price. So that's what she did. People would complain. Granny Julie, last week it was this price and now it's this much more. Come on. Granny Julie would say, listen, if you don't want to buy it, somebody else lining up behind you will buy it. Get out of the way. And next thing you know, she get the price she's looking for. That's what I learned. I learned how to be creative, industrious by watching how this woman juggle a plantation worker's salary while looking after 10 grandkids in a 2-bedroom shack.
Wonderful. Two last things. First of all, if you have any final words for our audience, and second of all, where can people find out more information either about you or the Black North Initiative?
Well, there's two places you can go. For me, well, there's three places. You can, We Shall Investments is my investment firm that support BIPOC entrepreneurs. So if you're Black, Indigenous, person of color, and you have a great business idea and you're looking for support, whether it be capital, mentorship, and stuff like that, connect with us at We Shall Investments. My handle on Instagram is King of Bay Street. So connect with me there. Black North is blacknorth.ca and hashtag Black North to find out more about Black North. I encourage people to follow Black North. Please do that. There's some amazing things that we're doing for the Black community. We have amazing allies that supporting us. We just had our first gala. We had 1,000 people in the room, which is unheard of. It's all shapes, colors, and sizes, and it was the most beautiful thing to experience. So I encourage people to do that, and also encourage people to just volunteer. Every one of us have the ability within us to make a difference, but some of us don't really take advantage of that opportunity. So I would say, even at your own company, look around and see things that you go, you know what, this ain't right, and do something about it. And in your own community, if something is happening that you feel ain't right, do something about it. And so that's how the Black North Initiative started, by me just writing a letter that was published about my experience as a Black Canadian. And people started to feel sorry for me. And I said, I don't want you to feel sorry for me. I want you to join me in doing something about it to help other people who may be feeling this way, or people coming up who are going to be experiencing the things that I've experienced. And we decided to start an organization to work collectively to deal with this issue of systemic anti-Black racism.
Well, Wes, I'm glad I can call you Wes. Thank you so much for taking the time. Thanks to the Telfer School of Management. Thank you to the Black North Initiative. Thank you to your family, because I know you got quite the life. Thank you to your technical director. Thank you for making that happen. And I look forward to hearing more wonderful things coming through you for all of us. So thank you very much for taking the time. Blessings. Remember to give yourself grace, and don't just manage your time, manage your energy.
Thank you, brother.
Take care.
Peace.
Be well. Take care. All right. So Mr. Hall is left. Thank you, everyone who watched this live or who's going to watch on the replay. Got a lot. I hope we got enough information for you in a very short period of time. If you missed out, thank you. Great. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate. I love to do conversations, so that was great. So I hope you had an opportunity via byblacks.com and also through Telfer School of Management, who collaborated to make this happen, to find out more about Wes Hall. So again, go to the Black North Initiative, find out more about them, follow Wes Hall, find out all the things he's doing. Watch Dragons Den and find out what they're doing. So I'm just going to sign it off here. Remember, first and foremost, By Blacks, follow them on Instagram, Facebook. Just put By Blacks or byblacks.com. You get everything you want. And myself, Dr. Vibe. I'm a Dr. Vibe I'm Googleicious. So we're just going to end it off here. Again, thank you to Roger and Camille Dundas for allowing me the opportunity to conduct this conversation with Wes Hall. As always, remember to give yourself grace, and also don't just manage your time, manage your energy, and remember to follow byblacks.com. Take care, everyone. Be well and keep the faith.